Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Business with me, Danny Pardo. On this episode, I'm talking business with Afia, and we are going to be talking careers in sports. And we'll be talking about Afia's love and passion for American football, where that came from, where it's led her, and now she actually has a career working for the National Football League here in the UK. So, without further ado, let's talk business with Afia. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Business with me, Danny Pardo. We've got Afia here today. Hello, Afia. How are you doing?
Hi, very good. Thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very much looking forward to this chat. We've been trying to do this for a few months, haven't we? But we've finally got here, and now we get to talk about you and all the amazing things you've done and where you've been and where you're going next. So without further ado, let's get stuck in, shall we? Who is Afia?
So I'm Afia. I'm head of grassroots and community development at NFL UK. Also kind of very heavily involved with American football, within the domestic leagues as well, within British American football, kind of playing, coaching, a bit of everything. I would say when you say who is Afia, Afia is everything about me is football. I absolutely love football. I love working in football, and I love spending pretty much every waking hour doing something to do with football. So that's probably the best way to define myself.
How amazing is that you get to just surround yourself with what you love all the time? That's brilliant. Can I ask a question that might cause some awkwardness then as we go forward? Who do you support?
So I'm an Eagles fan.
Okay.
I am an Eagles fan. So we had a good year a couple of years back.
Sure did.
But yeah, absolutely. And yourself, are you a fan?
I'm a 49ers fan.
49ers,
I could gloat about the time that we beat you earlier this year and then lost 3 or 4 in a row. So I'm not going to mention it because that was our last shining moment, really. Now that awkwardness is fallen on me rather than you, but ho. So going back to you then, your career journey and football and how that's become such an integral part of who you are and what you do. Let's go back to kind of 16, 17-year-old Afia. Did you do college? Was university on the books? How were you around about that 16, 17-year-old age range?
Yeah, so I did do college, completely kind of unrelated to sports. What I did at college and went to university kind of wasn't something that I was, I wasn't a really academic person. It wasn't something that I really wanted to do, but, not knowing what I wanted to do at that age, ended up going to university and studying international development, and pretty much did everything that I don't do now. So didn't kind of set myself up for a career in anything I studied, but was very lucky that I did go to university because that's where I found American football. So had I not gone on, I might not have found American football. I might not have fallen in love with the game and been where I am today. So very lucky in that respect. However, college and university, the studies itself have never been kind of academic. So it was never something that probably was really the right fit for me.
So were you an American football fan before university, or was that actually the first introduction to the game for you?
It was the first introduction to the game. Yeah, I didn't know a great lot about American football at around college age, university age, and actually when I went to university, I kind of said, I'm gonna try a new sport. I'd kind of disengaged with sport for a couple of years and had been big on sport when I was really young. So came to university and thought, I'm going to try a new sport and give something completely different a go. And American football just popped up, and I thought, you know what, let's just give it a go. Never thought that I would really engage with it. Never thought that I would fall in love with it the way that I have. But the second that I went down and I put the pads and the helmet on, that was it. I was sold. I completely fell in love with the sport, and I haven't looked back since. So
that was going to be my next question. But when was that moment? Because finding your passion, sometimes you feel like it's always been there, and sometimes you actually remember the day or the time and what it happened. So for you to just get that feeling of, oh, hello, there's something special going on here. What am I going to do with this? So where did you go to university then, and what was the program like there for you to get involved with American football?
Yeah, so I went to Portsmouth University. Portsmouth Destroyers are the team down there. And actually the year that I went was the first year that they were trialling women's American football in the UK. So there was 3 universities Southampton, Portsmouth, and Hertfordshire. And the three programs there decided to trial the women's game, and do women want to play? Can we make teams off the back of this? So the very first year I got involved was actually the first year that they were trying to see if women's football worked. And I remember kind of going down, and I think there was two of us that turned up to the first practice, and it doesn't sound very appealing, but it was happening after the men's university team practice, and kind of saw what they were doing, and just watching it, just totally loved it straight away. And then being able to, after a little bit of work to recruit and try and build a team, being able to like put the kit on and run around and tackle and catch footballs, and that was it. I was just sold, probably from the first moment that I saw it being played.
Yeah. And how, going back to those times then compared to now, the women's program, which we spoke about briefly just before we hit record here, how have you seen that develop since the time you went down and there were 3 universities and 2 of you turned up, and now it feels very different? But I'm very much on the outside on so many levels. So how have you seen that develop and grow? If you were at a university now and you were a female student and you wanted to play American football, would there just be 2 of you turning up, or has that changed a bit now?
Yeah, it's grown so fast now. So, going back kind of 11 years when we first trialed it, there was 3 teams with, by the time we got to the end of the year and had a tournament, 5, 6, 7 max players on each team. So it was absolutely tiny sport, and everyone knew each other. And now, there's close to 10,000 women playing across the UK, across both disciplines, so flag and contact American football. And I think, the first couple of years, it just very, very quickly gathered speed. I think, if you can't see it, you don't want to engage in it. I never would have gone and hunted out an American football team, but it's because I saw it and I saw that there was an opportunity there, and thought, why not give it a go, that I was able to find my passion for the sport. And I think it's very much the same for the women as it grows, and as they see local teams popping up near them, as they see, women coaching in British American football teams, women coaching in the NFL, they start to see that it's something they can do as well. And it very has quickly gathered speed over the years. And, now got teams across the country. We've got a GB women's team in flag and contact disciplines. So yeah, it's very quickly kind of snowballed, and is very much a sport that a lot of women are now involved in or interested in.
Yeah, and I see it almost getting, or in some cases do get, the equal billing as well. So I'm up in Sandwell, and which is in the centre of England, for those who don't know. So and we have the Sandwell Steelers very close to us. And when they sent a fly around a month or 2 ago, and it was equal billing in terms of the children's game, the women's game, the men's game, and that is so refreshing to see. And also, you think, as somebody who's kind of been around American football a lot as a fan and a spectator, to see that on the same leaflet, if somebody had said 10, 15 years ago, this is what it's going to be like, they might have been laughed out the building. But now it seems so normal to see that. How does that make you feel then, knowing you were kind of one of the pioneers of that? Even, you were down Portsmouth and we're about 300 miles away from you. How does that make you feel in terms of, wow, I was part of the original phase of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant to have seen it grow. Like to go back then and to think that it would be where it is now and be such an opportunity for women to play, like you just never would have thought that it would have grown that quickly. But to have been there from the start is a privilege, really, to have seen it grow, and to have been able to support a number of different teams across the country to grow women's teams, or just to be part of it and play in those teams is really lucky. So yeah, it's just been fantastic to see what was such a small initial pool of women playing to become what it is now, and knowing in another 10 years where could that be, and it could be even bigger.
Yeah, and I hope it is. If you carry on with the trend that you're currently on, then no doubt it will be. And you work in community and grassroots at the NFL, that's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Right. So you've been involved in the grassroots and the community side of it as well. And I think we can often look at sport as something separate from a business, but sport is a business. It pays your wages, if you don't mind me being so honest about it. But in terms of you watching that business grow in the community and the grassroots, because grassroots isn't a word, but in terms of the grassroots, how have you been a part of that then over the last few years as you've been a part of the NFL?
Yeah, so our community and grassroots department is actually, very young still. We started our community and grassroots work kind of in 2016, 2017. And off the back of that, kind of very quickly grew from, a few small flag football regions and schools to what's now a huge kind of nationwide program, whereas we have 26 regions across the UK playing, with numbers of schools in all of those regions, and a national tournament network, which leads into kind of a national championships. And we're everywhere from the south coast up to Glasgow now. So to have seen how quickly that grows, and to see that there is a really big interest there in flag football and in participation in the sport, it's great to see like how quickly young people, adults, everyone kind of latches onto the sport once they get a taste for it, and you put a ball in their hands. They just want to keep playing. So has been really interesting, over the years, just to see how quickly it's grown, and the interest in the sport, especially in schools, for kids starting to play flag football.
Yeah, and I remember when the international series started, and it's still based in London, but being based in London at the time, and I remember there was a bit of, not so much outcry, but London always gets all the good stuff. London's the only place that's going to get the investment. And to see that change as well, that, you're talking from the South up to Glasgow, and thousands upon thousands of people playing it now. How important do you think the international series has been to the grassroots community, in terms of just getting the word out there that this is fun, it's exciting, it's different, and you can do it too? Has it been a pivotal part of it, or would we still have this grassroots even if it hadn't happened?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that we would have it anyway, but it has definitely played a huge part, to grow the awareness of the sport by having games played here in London has done so much for the growth of the game, for, just people being able to, just for the awareness, people knowing that it's going on in the UK, it's accessible, there's a game here that you can come and watch. It has done a lot for the sport, and a lot for the grassroots side of sport. So, now when we go into schools, a lot of the kids are starting to, recognize the NFL before they have a go at it and before we bring it to them. So they've already got that kind of awareness of what the sport is, and the opportunities that we're able to offer around those games as well. We have, in a normal year, obviously this year's been slightly different with COVID coming out the back of these games, but in a normal year, we're able to bring the kids down to meet the team, to come down to the team practices, be part of our game days, come out on the field, play halftime games, and we can really offer some really awesome experiences for the kids to engage in, and that otherwise they might not have had those opportunities. So I think offering experiences like that, and spotlighting teams and schools in those opportunities, really make it something a little bit more special for the schools and young people that are getting involved.
And speaking of the schools and the young people and what you do with them on the grassroots and the community side of things, I guess your job title, speaking to a few students, your job title might be something that's not always talked about. Doesn't say marketing director or working in finance or human resources. It's community and grassroots. And what does that mean? So is there, taking the international series out of the equation, we'll get back to that and link that in a moment, but taking the international series out of the equation, is there a normal day at work for yourself who works in community and grassroots? Is there I get to work here, I go home here, and everything's tickety-boo?
There is definitely not a normal day at work, no. I mean, it's such a big mix of different things that we do in the department. So we have a team within the department that travel around the country, offering coach and teacher education sessions, so educating particularly kind of PE teachers on the sport and how they can deliver it, how they can bring it to their school. We've got games and tournaments and events, particularly around the London Games and our tournament periods of the year, but loads of other things going on as well. Flag football festivals for kids and schools to be able to come and give the sport a go. We have a lot of community work that we do as well with local sports organisations and youth and community groups. So it really is a big mix, and there's something different happening, every day, and a lot of traveling involved in that as well. When you've got a program that's everywhere from the south coast up to Glasgow, there's a lot of traveling involved in keeping that program running. So and then we've very excited that we launched our UK NFL Foundation a couple of weeks ago, which makes the amount of work we're doing and the variety of things we're doing, so much more. And it's really exciting then to be able to, get involved in those other projects and help to grow and pilot different projects to, help communities and the young people we're working with. So there really is a huge variety, but it's what makes the job interesting as well, that, we're doing so many different things. So yeah, definitely not a normal, go into the office and 9 to 5, the same thing happens. It's a real variety.
Yeah, and what an exciting organization to have that happening as well, that can be so forward thinking and exciting to be able to do. So, okay, so the day job, so to speak, there's a lot to it. Is it, and I think I asked Anthea and David, your colleagues, a similar question to this as well. So what about the international series? Is it all glitz and glamour and look at me, I work for the NFL and everything's amazing and you sit in a private box and all those kind of things? Is it as glamorous as we might stereotypically think it is?
Definitely not. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely a lot of, it's definitely an exciting time of the year for us. And, the most exciting time of the year is when the London Games come around. But it's also a lot of long days, long hours, and, such a busy time of the year for us, to host 2 games this year, not last year before, having 4 games. It's a really busy time. So a lot of time and work and effort goes into that. But, we're very lucky as well that it is an exciting part of the year to work. And, you mentioned earlier when we started that it taken us a couple of months almost to get round to this. And that's with coming off the back of the games and so much going on. It's there's a single focus and that's all you kind of think about for the couple of months where we're running up to and delivering on the London Games.
Yeah, and I imagine in terms of being a part of that as a football fan must be just really intense. And I know we were going to speak around that time, and it was no, don't contact me for I'm not going to be sleeping for a couple of weeks, let alone chatting to you. And that's completely understandable, may I add as well. So I think I was going to ask, what are the things you enjoy most about your job? I feel like I might already know the answer. I feel like everybody else listening and watching has figured it out as well. How important is it, and this is a bit cliche, to love what you do? That your love for football, I mean, you get to go to work and get paid to be around it all the time. How important is it to love what you do?
Very important, I think, coming into a full-time role where I can work on something I really love and really care about, and not only be involved in football, but help to grow the game for young people and women and other people, is something that, is so important, to love what you do. It definitely is. And you're right, it's probably a predictable answer. That definitely is, one of my favorite parts of the job. But alongside that, it's being able to kind of give back a little bit. So, if I'd have had the opportunity to play as a young woman or girl before I found American football at university, that would have been amazing. I definitely, if I'd have had those extra 5-10 years playing because women could play at that point, then that would have been incredible. And something that I think I really love about my job is that I have the opportunity to give that back to the next generation. So, if now girls can come in and play, flag football in primary school, so they can play flag football from, the very beginning, and creating those opportunities is just so exciting to think, when they grow up, what are the opportunities going to be for them? What are the women's football leagues and what levels can they play at then? And, how many more coaches can we get that are female in the NFL? And, that is really exciting. And that's, another part of my job, which I absolutely love, being able to kind of give back and hopefully give something that to young people that I wasn't able to have when I was younger. So that's definitely a really special part of the job for me as well.
Yeah, and that's a real culture change. I think back to when I was a kid many years ago, and I was, without getting too much into my childhood here or trying to turn it into a counselling session, I was always the outsider with regards to sport. Nobody liked American football. Nobody really knew who it was. We're talking late 80s, early 90s. And to think that people will grow up now and this sounds kind of blasé, just another sport. But how amazing is it? But it's just another sport, and that you get a chance to play it in school. That like this week, next week is tennis, this week is American football, and to think that you've played a part of that's absolutely stunning. Must feel pretty proud. Have you got a big team of grassroots and community people like yourselves, or is it quite a small team? How many people have you got working with you there?
Yeah, we are quite a small team. So there's three of us, primarily. Most of the time out and about around the country and delivering events and delivering training. So
I was going to say though, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you've all that stuff you've just said, and now you've said there's only three of you. How do you do that?
There are only three of us. Yeah. I mean, we do have a program which is primarily teacher led. So a lot of our work goes into supporting those teachers and they run the sport themselves rather than us as a team, delivering. But it is, it's a lot of work for the team. The team are on the road a lot, traveling around, doing loads of different things, festivals, football events, all sorts of things. But we do have partner organisations and other organisations that we work closely as well. So although it's just the three of us in the team, we do have a lot of other organisations that we do work with that support delivery of a lot of our programs as well. So that does help a lot, because like you say, three people with everything we've got going on is definitely not many people.
I had visions of you running between school to school, doing an hour in each one or something. So I'm glad you've got partners and teachers on your side as well, because I couldn't compute how that was working. So, but even so, three of you to build that network of schools and partnerships and communities to do that is absolutely amazing. Thank you as an American football fan for doing that. It's great to see it grow. Can we talk about you and your skills a little bit here as we start to get towards kind of the last section of this, and thinking back to college and university, and teachers always say things like, you're going to need teamwork skills, you're going to need communication, you're going to need to do problem solving. And when you're 16 or 17, I don't know about you, but I've seen lots of students switch off, and I'm pretty sure I did as well, when teachers are constantly going on, you're going to need to work in a team with people you don't like and all these kind of things. So thinking back to your time at school and college, how are you using those skills on a daily basis, your teamwork, communication, problem solving, and all those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably, as I said at the beginning, I was never an academic person, and whether university was the right choice besides finding American football, I don't know. But I think actually a lot of those softer skills that you mentioned, I've probably developed those, or when I initially got involved in the sport, developed those a lot through being part of the sport, because American football does lend itself very differently to other sports in terms of how you work as a team. There's so many different positions. It's not like football or basketball where everyone has that same skill set. There's such a variety of different positions and such a a different nature to the sport that I think it really lends itself to building those teamwork skills. And everyone on the team has to be doing the right thing for the team to succeed. It's not down to one person that's going to score every goal, and that's the important thing. It's about everyone working together and making sure that everyone succeeds for the team to succeed. So some of those softer skills, I definitely think that I probably learned as I came into American football, and coming from other sports probably touched on those skills a little bit there as well. But I think with regards to studies, I would have said I probably don't use a lot of those skills, but now that I'm in the role I actually realize I do use a lot of them. So I studied international development, and development is obviously a huge part of my role. Although I didn't study sports development, a lot of those skills do cross over. So I think it's often the smaller skills that you pick up along the way through studies or through what you're doing alongside your studies that kind of help as you go through your career and help you to grow grow your skill set as you go along.
Yeah, and that leads into the phrase, another thing that students are told a lot, lifelong learning. Be prepared to always keep learning. And I know when you're a student, you're 17, you think, I just want to stop learning for a bit. All I've been doing for the last 12, 13 years is learning. Can I have a bit of a break from it? But how important then is lifelong learning for you as well? I mean, you say you're still developing these skills, but you've been working at the NFL for years, and you've done so many things, but you're still learning. Is that the reality of work and being successful at it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you never stop learning. There's always something you can be better at, something you can know more of. And the nature of the work as well at the NFL, it's always changing and it's always growing and developing. We're always, piloting new projects, something different's always happening. We're always, bringing in different programs. So you're always learning all the time about how to do things differently, how to do things better. And alongside that, with the American football side of things, I think any coach you speak to in American football, whether they're in the NFL or whether they're in grassroots sports, will say you never stop learning, particularly in a sport like American football. There's just so much to know that you can always grow and develop, and you can always be better. And I think that's something that's really exciting about this role. Although everyone is always learning in every career, in this role as well, there's a constant challenge. There's always something new that's happening, and always a challenge to improve or do something different. So it is definitely important to kind of keep growing throughout your career as well.
Yeah, and speaking about growing and development then, and I always like to ask this question to people who are actually in the know, and I presume you're not going to give away any massive spoilers, but the NFL is growing. Germany's on the cards. There was pictures of Real Madrid Stadium with the NFL logos in of when we're recording this just a few days ago. So the expansion is coming, isn't it? The global expansion, and that's on kind of this side of the Atlantic. So how exciting a time is it for the NFL then to be a part of that? And what's kind of coming next that you know of in terms of obviously this international expansion, European expansion, but also from the grassroots and community programs? Is it the organic growth, or have you got some really exciting projects kind of lined up?
We do have some exciting things lined up, definitely. We're always kind of growing the sport, and we have a couple of international flag markets now, China, Mexico, the UK, Germany, Canada, that are all playing flag football and all kind of send teams to our International Pro Bowl to compete as well. So lots of kind of exciting growth there as well. And there are new countries and new markets that we're looking at, like you mentioned, Germany, where flag football is just something that's so new still, and a real opportunity for young people to engage and find a new sport. And you see, even just from the UK, how quickly it's engaged with and how quickly it's kind of snapped up by young people and they want to play. And I think there's huge potential for that across many countries, because it is a sport that if you've never seen it, if you've never heard of it, if you've never done it, once you get a ball in your hands, it's so easy to just get addicted and fall in love with the sport straight away. So there's definitely loads of potential for future growth in NFL flag and in participation areas of the NFL as well. So lots of exciting things on the cards, and stay tuned, and I'm sure there'll be lots of exciting things coming out in the future.
Can't wait to see what they are. It's very exciting. As long as one of them is bringing my 49ers over, then you can do whatever you want with all the rest of it. So as we get then just to this, I'm going to ask you one kind of two last questions here then. So we've spoke about the NFL, we spoke about you. I'm going to flip it back to you a little bit here now. What's next for you then? Is your role just, I want to do this, or I'm presuming you're not going to go work for the NBA or the Premier League or anything, but what's kind of next for you in terms of your growth? Are you at that stage where you're thinking that yet?
Definitely got a lot that I want to achieve in the work that we're doing right now. So although we have grown massively, something that's really exciting for us is when can we be that sport that's played in every school across the country? When can it be something that every young person knows what NFL is or what flag football is and wants to play it? So at the moment, there's so much we can do still in the growth of American football and grassroots sports in the UK. That's something that's really, really exciting for me. And we've just this year had our women's programs introduced. So seeing how we can grow those women's specific programs and give young women and girls opportunities to play flag. There's so much there that we want to achieve still as a team, and that we can achieve in the country. That definitely next steps for me are doing more of that and bringing more of the sport across the UK. But outside of that, the NFL is a really exciting place to work. There's always lots of new things coming up. So we've just taken on our new NFL Foundation projects, which is another exciting thing, being able to combine flag football with projects that are helping young people focused around mental health, well-being, serious youth violence, that can really help the young people that are accessing it. That's something that we want to do more of and are excited to do more of as well. So yeah, next for me is more and better of what we're already doing. So lots of exciting things ahead for sure.
Fantastic. And where do we go for more information if you're, say, 14 years old, or if you're a school teacher or something like that and you want to get involved with all these things? Where do we go? Of a certain Twitter account, what are we typing in on Google to get that?
Yeah, if you go onto our NFL UK website, there is a flag football section where you can register interest as a school or organisation to get involved in flag, and also kind of lots of videos and exciting things there for young people to have a look at as well. So definitely that's the first place to check out. And if whoever is listening is interested in being involved or bringing it to their school or group, definitely go online, apply, and we'll hope to kind of bring the sport to everyone that's got the interest there to deliver it.
Fantastic. Well, I better get on that then as soon as this finishes and put my details in. So let's go one last question, mate, to round this off, and I haven't prepped you for this. So if we could take you back to, say, 16, 17-year-old Afia, back when you were at college, leaving school, and you wish somebody had given you a bit of advice, but you wish you'd taken on as your mantra, I wish somebody had told me that at 16 rather than having to figure it out 8 years later or something, what would that information, advice, or mantra have been?
That's a good question. I would probably have to say, just, anything is possible. If you love something, or if you want to achieve something, anything is possible. I think nowadays, a lot of young people are conditioned to or made to feel that they can't achieve something because not many people do achieve it. Or, if they want to play football, play basketball, play American football, whatever, professionally, because such a minority achieve it, they're made to feel that, they're not going to be able to do that, and they should have realistic expectations. And, I think for me, if you'd have told me that this is what I would have been doing many, many years later, and that I would have played, American football at a high level and played for Team GB, I probably wouldn't have believed it. So I think, I think the best advice is just believe in yourself, and if you love something and you really want to do it, then go out there and do it, because absolutely nothing will get in your way. If you really, really want to do it and you put the time and effort in, you can achieve anything you want.
Wow, that's very inspirational. That's I'm listening to that going, wow, I wish somebody had told me that too. I mean, to hear your story of you went to a practice with two people and you've watched this game grow, you've helped it develop and grow, and now you seem so happy in this role. I think that's proof of that, isn't it? Do find what you enjoy. Nothing's impossible, and chase that dream. I'm sorry to fill this with cliches and cheese, but yeah, it's it's true.
Chase the dream.
Yeah, it's not cliche, is it? When it's true, I don't think. Anyway, Afia, thank you so much. What I'll ask you to do, stay on my line just for a moment or two after I hit the stop button on this. Thank you for your insights and your inspiration. Really do appreciate it. Thanks for talking business with me, and a cheerio.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Afia. Really appreciate you sharing your career journey and your insights into working for the National Football League here in the UK. A massive passion of mine, and great to see that it's a passion of yours as well. So thank you very much, and I wish you all the best for whatever's coming next in your exciting career. And to everybody else, thank you very much for watching and listening, liking, sharing, subscribing, rating, reviewing, and doing all those good things. I really do appreciate them. You can say hello on any of your social media channels that I have here. And until next time, and on the next episode of Talking Business, I'll just say cheerio.